I plan Gus laughs. Gus is God, universe, spirit. My friend Elias's way of making room for everybody's belief. And let me tell you, Gus laughed at me a lot while I was dating after my divorce. I thought about that expression a lot during those years. All the plans I made for me and my family, all the timelines I had set for myself, all the ways I tried to engineer finding the right person. Gus was laughing a lot. But there was one night, and I want to tell you about it, where I finally understood what I had actually been looking for this whole time. And it wasn't what I thought it was. It was one night during one of my late summer, early fall, crazy busy times at work where I was completely underwater. If you have ever had a job with a busy season, or if you've always had a job with a time where it's always busy, but then there was an even busier season, you know what I'm talking about. Where you're always eating lunch at your desk, no time to breathe. Sometimes you feel like you can't even get up and go to the bathroom. I was working on a project with a deadline, and it wasn't going to get done on time. Not because of me, but because everyone who was supposed to get me their pieces for the project was late. And I was sitting there frustrated at them for ignoring deadlines and then angry at myself because the truth is, I had let it happen. I'd given people extra time when I shouldn't have. And I was so slammed, I couldn't have got to their stuff anyway because I hadn't spoken up and asked for help. Can you relate? It was one of those days where everything was just crazy and off. It was an I plan, Gus laughs kind of day. I got home and I had a little meltdown. Nothing major, just tears, just that release that happens when you've been holding all together all day long and you finally walk through the door and your body goes, okay, we can fall a little bit apart now. Hugh was there. He's my husband now, but he was my boyfriend then. And he just held me. He didn't tell me it was going to be okay. He didn't offer solutions. He didn't give me advice and a list of things that I could have or should have done differently. He didn't make me feel the least bit embarrassed for crying and melting down. He just let me have my moment. He held space for me in the most literal sense. He was just there, present and steady, while I fell apart a little bit. And when it passed, when I was done, he pulled back and he looked at me and he asked me two questions I will never forget. What do you need, as in general? What do you need in general? And what do you need from me? I was in my 50s. I had been married twice. I had dated before then and even after then. I had dated for years, and not one man, not once in my entire life, had ever asked me that. I remember thinking, oh, this is what I'm really looking for. And he's done it many times since over the years, especially after October 7th, being Jewish, working for a Jewish organization, with the daily briefings and the emotional toll of all of it. And even now, he's not Jewish, and being married to somebody Jewish, let's just say he's learned a lot over the years. Like when we were deciding where to move last year. And I told him it needed to be somewhere where I felt safe, not something he had ever needed to consider. But I digress because he was there for me a lot then, and he always is. He's my rock. But here's what I want to talk about today, because I think a lot of us miss real love when it shows up. Not because we weren't paying attention, but because we've been taught to look for all the wrong things. We've been taught that love feels like tons of fireworks, like intensity, like that electric, slightly anxious feeling when you don't know what where you stand, and every text back feels like that small victory and your heart goes crazy. The truth is that that feeling, that anxiety we mistake for chemistry. Many times it's trauma responding to a familiar pattern. It's not love, it's recognition. And recognition of something painful isn't the same as connection. Real love, the kind I found with Hugh on that completely normal night after work, doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like when you're exhaling. It feels like being able to fall apart a little and knowing the person next to you isn't going anywhere. It feels like being asked what you need instead of being told what you should feel, which is one of my big pet peeves, by the way. It feels safe and it feels grounding. And for a lot of us, especially women who have done hard things alone for a long time and were or are still always going at full speed because we don't have a choice, safe can initially feel boring because we're not used to it. If calm has ever felt like a red flag to you, it's important for you to hear this, that calmness isn't intuition, it's conditioning, and it's worth taking a look at. So let's talk about what emotional safety actually feels like in practice, because I think we throw that phrase around a lot and we don't make it concrete. Emotional safety feels like being able to say, I had a hard day without bracing for the response. It feels like expressing a feeling without turning it into a debate about whether your feeling is valid. It feels like being able to be imperfect, frustrated, tired, overwhelmed, angry, not at your best, and not feeling like you have to manage his reaction. It feels like being asked what you need instead of someone just doing whatever is easiest for them. And here's what it doesn't feel like. It doesn't feel like walking on eggshells, something I did too many times in both of my previous marriages. It doesn't feel like editing yourself before you speak. It doesn't feel like relief when you're in a good mood, because relief means you are bracing for the alternative. Emotional safety is quiet. It's consistent. It doesn't announce itself with grand gestures. It shows up on a random weeknight when everything at work goes wrong and somebody just holds you. One of the most important things I learned from dating for almost 10 years is this. The first 90 days will tell you almost everything you need to know if you're willing to watch. Not what he says, what he does consistently. Does he follow through on small things? Does he show up when it's inconvenient? Does he handle a frustrating moment with grace or does he shut down? Does he ask about your life? Really ask and remembers the answers. Consistency in the small moments is the only real data you have early on. Anyone can be charming on a good day. What you need to see is who he is on any regular day. Hugh showed me who he was on that ordinary day, and that's how I knew. The last thing I want to leave you with before we talk about what's coming next is this. The best barometer for whether a relationship is healthy or not is not how you feel about him. It's how you feel about yourself when you're with him. Are you more yourself or less? Are you expanding or shrinking? Do you feel seen or do you feel managed? Do you feel like a partner or do you feel like a project? After my second divorce, I did a lot of work on myself. Real work, the kind that's uncomfortable, deep, slow, necessary. And what that work gave me was a baseline. I knew what it felt like to be okay on my own. So when someone came along who made me feel okay, not less, I was able to recognize it. That is why the inner work matters. Not because it makes you perfect. There's no such thing. Believe me, I still have my moments. Just ask my husband. The inner work matters because it makes you calibrated. You can't recognize real love if you've never felt safe inside yourself first. Next week, we're starting something I've been looking forward to. We're going to talk about lots of green flags since we've been talking about red flags the last couple months. So for the next 8 weeks, we're going to talk about what a genuinely good man actually looks like, what he does, how he shows up, what real partnership feels like from the inside. Because we spent a lot of time, like I just said, learning about lots of red flags to walk away from, like 30 plus of them. Now it's time to talk about what what to walk towards. So I want to leave you with this. I am not just your coach. I am your proof. I found real love in my 50s after 2 divorces, after years of dating, after a romance scam, after all of it. I found a man on a completely ordinary night after a crazy day at work who held me while I cried, asked me what I needed, and meant it. It is possible. And you, my friend, exactly as you are, with everything you've been through, you are worth waiting for. You can do this. You are doing this. And the relationship you want, it starts with the woman you are becoming. If this video helped you, please subscribe. Every week on this channel, we talk about real love, real growth, and what it actually takes to create the relationship you deserve. Because your best relationship starts with you. See you next week.